So this is a discussion about making the mobile stands for the game Mustangs and Messerschmitts. And it starts with the template for the stands. This particular one was taken from the game Dogfight 3D, created by Merlin Larson, which is actually based from Mustangs and Messerschmitts. One of the key measurements being the distance between the two front wheels on the mobile stand, and that being 6 inches and a quarter. And then another key dimension is the distance from the leading edge of the stand back to the rear wheel, which is 5.5. Once I had the template down complete, I was able to go ahead and rough cut some 3/4 inch plywood scrap that I had sitting around, and each one large enough to handle one template. Okay, with the key markings put down on the wood sleds and the 1/2 inch tubing cut to 3-inch lengths, went ahead and in the center hole drilled a 1/2 inch diameter to fit the aluminum tubing, inserted the tubings, and then glued them in place with some CA glue. Most important when drilling these holes, you want to make sure that they are perpendicular to the sleds, so that way your tube and sled end up with a nice vertical dimension so that your airplanes are flying properly. I went to Ace Hardware and found 1 1/4 inch plastic stem casters. It was actually very difficult to find 1 1/4 inch wheels these days, but was able to find these, so they'll work. Following the instructions, drilled a 3/8 inch hole in the rear location and followed the instructions to insert the wheel. So it's ready to go, just needs to be working on the calibration and the indexing for the different rotations. So with the altitude sticks cut to 3 foot and the aluminum tubing connectors cut down to 3 inches, I went ahead and marked the dowels about 1 inch down from the top, and for the lower altitude sticks I went ahead and epoxied the aluminum tubing so there was 1 inch down covering the lower tubing, giving 2 inches for the inserting the upper tubing. Fairly straightforward, and because there was a little bit of a wobble between the dowel and the aluminum tubing, I had some electrical tape available, which I went ahead and wrapped one layer in a couple places at the bottom of the upper altitude stick, which when it inserts into the aluminum tubing, actually does a pretty good job of making a snug fit. And so we'll do that at the bottom of each of the upper wood dowels, as well as the bottom altitude stick dowels. And a little more detail on the wheels for these sleds. Again, using the Ace Hardware stem casters, 1 1/4 inch. The package comes with these metal inserts that help hold it in place, but thanks to Dave Jensen, I realized these were not useful, and so I didn't use those. Instead, we used the wheel as is, and to hold it in place, we use this rubber grommet or rubber bottle stopper in this case. Instead of a 3/8 inch hole, I drilled a 5/16, which fits the stem just perfectly. And then very nicely, you take your rubber grommet, put it over the stem, and it just holds it nice and tight. You can put a little bit of CA glue down the stem to hold it in place once you're all done, and it's good to go. So for the front wheels, again using these 1 1/4 inch casters from Ace Hardware, and drilling a 5/16 inch hole on the front. But instead of a through hole, I only drilled it about a 1/2 inch in so that it doesn't poke through the top. And using a simple hand saw, I cut off a portion of the stem from the caster so that it sits in the hole but it doesn't go all the way through. And the nice thing is that the neck of this caster doesn't rotate, it's attached to the wheel. So once you put it into the hole with some epoxy, you've got a wheel that's nice and fixed. It's not going to rotate. With the wheels mounted and epoxied in place, I went ahead and put in another hole into the rubber grommet to fit the 1/16 inch wire pointer for doing angle rotations. Then I just need to finish up a little bit of the markings on top of this sled, and it will be ready for calibration. To make things a little bit easier and make the sleds look nicer, we've just scribed a circle through the arc, and that'll make sure that all of our final markings for radii are consistent and easily readable. Okay, here we are setting up to do our calibrations for radius. And so what we're doing is we've laid out a strip of tape in a nice straight pattern, and we've marked the tape with each of the turn radii. So here we've got E, F, and G. You'll note that they are actually the full distance, twice the distance that's listed on the rules, because we're doing these in 180-degree turn as opposed to just 90-degree turn, which is what's in the rules. One variation on that is our A, because it's 40 inches to do an A turn radius. Trying to do a full 180-degree turn with A makes for a really large circle, so we're only doing 90 degrees there. As a first step, what you want to do is make sure all of your sleds move forward straight. And so we've laid a straight edge on the floor, and we'll just run that sled up and down, adjusting the rear wheel as needed until it runs nice and straight. All right, so as an example, here we are doing the calibration for the G. And so you essentially run the sled through a 180-degree turn, and do it a bunch of rough times until you get pretty close. And then we put on a piece of tape that really holds the wheel in place. And that allows us to really fine tune it until we end up right where we want to be. So, and pretty much ends right up at G. You'll notice the sled doesn't end up perfectly horizontal with the tape the way you'd think it would, but that's because of the wheel locations and the mechanical orientation. So can't do anything about that.